2, 1. AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. Time once again for taking you home. Brandon Johnson, good morning, sir.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Hey, is the spring market here yet?
You know, spring market's kind of a generically defined term,
Yeah.
and so it's really, I thought I'd kind of give my explanation or what I define it as. Obviously, it's just an opinion. And I just want to backtrack a little bit. Basically, timing is different for everybody.
Sure.
So not everyone can pick the 4-month window of the year that they want to sell. But when you hear buyers, sellers, I want to talk about the spring market,
Yeah.
what does that mean? And so I guess from my perspective, how I define it is typically it's a 4 to 6 week window when demand is the most disproportionately to supply of any other time of the period of the calendar year.
Okay, now, does that still hold true?
Yeah, it's typically in the spring, thus
Okay.
the spring market,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's typically in the spring months, but it's a month to a month and a half period where there's just the highest amount of demand versus the lowest amount of supply in a given calendar year. And so what does that mean if you're in the market, right?
Sure.
How do you take advantage of that? And a lot of people, you know, they aren't in the market till their dream home comes up, so that dictates their timing. They have job transfers, they're relocating, so they're really not able to plan and take advantage. But we have some clients that are in a position that say we want to try and maximize. We're building, and we are irrelevant to the time of year that we sell.
Sure.
So how do we best prepare? How do we take advantage of that time? Typically, I would say it's early February through March. It varies, but it really is, you know, we talk about timing the market isn't always easy to do, but being prepared is something you can do.
Okay, I need to back up just a little bit myself and explain why I asked you if that is still a thing, if there really still is a quote-unquote spring market, because so many other traditional things have fallen by the wayside, right?
Yes.
With all the web stuff and artificial intelligence and blah, 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 blah. But we still have this thing in our heads, don't we, that it's time to go look around when January rolls around.
Yes, and I think that's true. And what the heart of what you're saying is the amount of demand and the amount of supply fluctuates every given year. But we've kind of become accustomed
There you go.
to the new year hits.
Yeah.
We're starting to look for homes. That's, you know, the home show, all these things, we just becomes kind of our culture, right?
Right.
So the exact timing varies, but it is part of our habitual culture.
It is
in
still
real
with
estate.
us alive and well.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So how do you take advantage of it as a seller? The first thing I would say is having a strategy and being prepared. So a lot of what we do is have green photos, what we talk about in the fall,
Right.
that we could be prepared for, as well as snow photos. So we have the full array of photos. Preparation, knowing when you want to be ready isn't necessarily when you want to go on the market. So being ready over the Christmas holiday doesn't mean you want to go on January 1st.
Gotcha.
It's all about being prepared. Decorations down, decluttered, all of that. And then when you look and when it works for your schedule, you know, what you have, life is a big factor, your family and kids'
Right.
events and all of that. Being ready to go on, whatever that timing works best for you and market conditions.
Okay, now I'm also going to jump back and say these are some things that we have talked about over the past few years doing this show, right?
Yep.
So being ready, and this is Bob Hughes talking. I'm a long way from being any kind of an expert, believe me. But I look at what we have talked about in the past, you know. If you have been keeping regular maintenance records on your furnace and all that kind of stuff, right? If you have been just what I would call being a responsible homeowner,
Yep.
because you may never know what circumstances may force you to sell your home. So if you go into homeownership with that mindset, I think, you are always prepared, or at least better prepared.
Yeah, being a good record keeper is a perfect example.
Yeah.
It shows that the home has been well maintained.
Taken care of, yes.
Yes, and so that's always a big selling point. So, for instance, I have some clients now that started deciding they're going to sell when the new year is ready.
Okay.
We started getting their home ready in November.
Okay.
They were open to, if we had somebody that was coming to the area, they were willing to show it, but they're not going to go onto the market till, you know, sometime in January, right?
Yeah.
So we did a full planning session on timing, getting their home ready. Supplements disclosures, how to best document everything they've improved to the home.
Okay.
So when they go on, they will be completely ready to go.
Right, exactly. Okay, question for you. What is a micro market?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is generalities, right? You need to know specific to your local neighborhood, your local town. The best example might be Lakeshore, right? I talk about that the spring market or the 4 to 6 week period might be February through March generally, but that might not be true for Lakeshore, right? I can tell you might be a biased opinion, but the optimal time or the most demand generally is around Memorial Weekend for Lakeshore, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's getting the itch, the temperatures are rising,
Sure.
the water. February might not be the most optimal time for Lakeshore. So it's about, when I say micro market, the specifics to your property and the peak demand versus supply.
Okay, so what you're saying makes me think, hey, wait a minute, man. I can go find some good lakeshore property now in January.
Oh, absolutely. And again, homes sell all year round. Lakeshore sells all year round. But when the peak demand, there is a higher demand in the spring and summer months than there is obviously December, January.
So if there's higher demand then, it means there's lesser demand now, so you don't have as many people to battle with.
Yeah,
right?
and so that's what we'll get into maybe next week is talking about how to be a buyer in the spring market, right?
Yeah.
And so what are the options and how to take advantage of that as a buyer's perspective.
Brendan, how long have you been doing this?
That's a great question. Heidi just asked us this, 2004, so
22 years.
Just means we're old, right?
No, that means you're experienced. And listen, in another 20 years, we should have this conversation because things have changed since you start, and things will change between now and then.
Experience is important, but
Amen.
I'd say what also is important on anything you do is who is actively doing their field, in this case real estate, on a daily basis, pulse on the market.
Right.
You want to hire people that are actively in the market.
I believe you've just described VoigtJohnson Real Estate. How do we work with you guys?
At VoigtJohnson.com or 320-774-2400.
Brendan, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Nice. It's like we've done this before.